July 27th, 2020. To do some work to prepare the lecture. If you're watching on YouTube right now and you'd like to watch the stream live, you can go to twitch.tv/GMBenjaminFeingold and watch it live. Hooray, go live. Go, etc. Go like a pro, and so forth. We're going to change the theme of the stream for a while until I get sick of it. It'll be less entertaining and more structured. Basically, I'm getting tired of playing people since I don't play well, so I'm going to teach and show things that I think are instructive, especially things that I've shown before. Occasionally, I'll have the engine bar up, and occasionally I won't, depending on whether I want you to see it. For this particular lecture, I don't want you to see it. But don't worry, I can see the engine evaluation. And I bought some Perrier today at Publix, and I brought one. Exciting. Yeah, it's Ben. Hello. Let's see. It says I'm live. Hooray, better than the alternative. Also, Nemsko just went live, so you can watch that. That'll learn you. I'll refresh to see if I have any viewers. 0. All right, it's working. Yeah. And so on. It says trying to learn's watching me. I always feel like trying to learn's watching me, and I have no privacy. Okay, so if you missed me yesterday, you should watch the stream. Come on, don't just leave. Okay, so what we're going to do today is we're going to look at 3 of my older games where, in an unusual happenstance, except it's not a happenstance since I picked them, I played moves the engine wouldn't play, but I would still play them today because they're better than the engine move. And by better, that depends on your definition of better. So I'll give you some examples so you're less confused. The first one is purely hypothetical. So if the non-existent God existed and played chess and didn't cheat, obviously God could cheat by knowing what move you're going to make, so that's not fair. But anyway, let's say God didn't cheat and just didn't know what move you were going to make. You know, he put white noise in his ears or something. And then every move that he makes is a draw, because chess is a draw, and yet his job is to make the move that makes it most difficult for you to draw, and that move would be better than other moves, even though by the theories of math and engines, it's not. So, yeah. So that's how God would play chess. He would, make it difficult for you because, he doesn't have any mercy. All right. Now, in a more practical sense, if we take backgammon engines, backgammon engine plays the move that is the best, that it thinks is the best. And a human who's a top backgammon player might agree that the move the engine plays is technically the best, but depending on which opponent he's playing, he may play another move to make it more difficult on his opponent. In chess, we also have this, where the engine doesn't necessarily play the best move because, maybe the engine's spotting you a rook and it's losing. So instead of making a move where it's down 3, you could program it to make a move that's down 4, but is much more complicated. So for example, if I'm the engine and I'm in an ending where you have a king and a bishop and I have a king, and we each have 5 pawns, maybe the evaluation's +4 for you, but you're going to win. But maybe the engine evaluation of +8 in some complicated middle game would give the engine more chances. Thanks for the subscription and the 100 centidues. All right. And so the name for there's a name for this called contempt. So in chess, playing with contempt is tantamount to a lot of chess coaches saying it's playing for tricks and you shouldn't do that, which I agree with. However, in an instance where you can play for many tricks and the evaluation doesn't change enough where it hurts you, then you should play for those tricks. You want to give yourself a chance to win without hurting your chances. So for example, if I have a move that's 0.12 for me, and then every move you make is 0.12 for me, or I have a move that's all zeros, but you have to play perfectly. If you make one mistake, the next 4 moves you lose. I'm making the all zeros move because I'd rather have an equal position and win a lot of the time than always have a very slight advantage. Some grandmasters wouldn't agree with me, and they would be wrong. Okay, now, these 3 games that I'm about to show you all meet with that criteria where the engine says, ooh, that wasn't right, Ben. You should have played something else. And in 99.9% of the cases, as they said in Inglourious Bastards, the engine would be right. But in that 0.001%, then, Hitler's killed and, Brad Pitt wins and stuff. All right. And don't forget it. Okay. Right, well, the problem with poker is, which is also the problem with backgammon, is you have incomplete information. And in chess, you have perfect information, and I'm still saying the engine's wrong. Bam! Gotcha, engine. If you want to see engines be made fun of, then watch Star Trek The Next Generation whenever Data plays poker with, Jonathan Frakes. It never makes any sense. Okay, basically Jonathan Frakes always bluffs, and Data always has some long, nonsensical speech and then folds. Okay, that's every script. All right, so this game was played a long time ago, against Wayne Conover, who's 2,400 USCF, probably 2,300 FIDE. And you've seen this on my stream before, the Tigorin. And in this particular line, after E3, the book move, the computer recommended move is E6. And maybe I've played that once, maybe. And I always play E5 for psychological reasons. One is it's very tricky. And 2 is when my opponent plays E3, they're showing me they don't want to be in a theoretical battle. They just want to develop their pieces in castle. They don't want any tricks. They don't want to see who has a better theoretical memory. They don't know the Tigorin very well. They're just playing solid. So I play E5 because that move is very tricky. Okay, now the best move is probably Queen B3, and I think I faced that once. That's a very tricky, complicated move. And people who play E3 aren't playing for tricks and complications, they're playing for simplicity. So taking on E5 is the move that I face the most often. This lets black equalize immediately by taking on C4. Normally they trade queens. Sometimes they take on C4 first. Right, and I've told this story before many times on the stream, but now I can tell it again. Before I tell this story, I'll read some of the chat, reminding myself, never read the chat. But I haven't read it yet, so. Ale, that's correct. I'm going to change the whole stream now because Bonarici agreed with me. So that's not good. That's only a problem if you lose. I like that. Why does an engine say +5 when it's simply winning? I don't know how to answer that question. +5 is winning. I don't know what you want. Yeah, I'm not sure. What was it about poker? I said poker has incomplete information, whereas chess is a perfect information game. So they're different. Also, I was reading on the internet today that Daniel Negreanu was banned from Twitch. I don't know if it's a permanent ban or temporary like mine. I guess you're not supposed to threaten your audience with bodily harm, I guess. I don't know. Still scrolling. That's right. Never read the chat. Yeah. Go Pam. That's the wrong your. Show the engine. That's funny. Can you go over types of openings? What? All right, good chat. Excellent. Yeah. 200 sentences. Yeah. No, I mean, Daniel Negreanu is great. I was playing chess with him once, and I couldn't believe it. He sent me a note, and he said, you have a king, a queen, 3 pawns, a bishop, and a knight, and 2 rooks. It was uncanny. I only had 1 rook, but his read was really close. I mean, you got to admit it. Everything else he got was right. So, I mean, that was a pretty uncanny read. Pantaglian gifted 20 subs. That's approved by me. I approve. I don't understand why there's not a train if he gave 20 subs. Oh, because it was just 200 centidues and 20 subs. So if somebody gives 100 centidues, we're going to have a level 5 train like that, son. If you don't donate right now, I'm going to tell Negreanu on you. And then you're in trouble. So it was funny. Somebody on Twitter made a list of the longest lists and the shortest lists. It was a list of lists. Okay, and Chopin didn't. Anyway, then on the short list was the names of people Negreanu could beat up. It's a very short list. All right, let's see. Yeah. Colmonosaurus gave 5 subs. Yay, thank you. Yeah. Anyway, I like Danny because he's a vegan. Yeah, goad vegans. Okay. That's right, ace king against 2 rooks. Right. Yeah, give that guy a sub. Okay, now, here's the story I was going to tell before I read the chat and told some Negreanu stories and some vegan stories. 85 beers are good, I agree. Okay, now listen to this story. Also, let's thank Pantaglian again and Colmonsaurus for destroying the train. Those are some conductors there. All right. So, there was a guy in Michigan named Pascal Baudry. He was from France. He was French, and he lived in Michigan. And he was 2100-ish. And he always played E3 on move 1, which has nothing to do with my story. I just thought it was funny that with white he always played E3, and he's French. There's not really a joke in there, but there sort of is. It's just a true story, sorry. Anyway, he had a son, Eric Baudry, and his son was 7. And his son was, like a strong scholastic player. But if he tried to teach his son, that didn't work out. That happens. You can't teach family members. It doesn't mesh. So he hired me to teach his son. And I don't know if I think I was showing him a game I played. Yeah, I was definitely showing him a game I played. And this was the game I played. It wasn't this game because that kid, this is many years ago. This was mid-'80s probably. Yeah, mid-'86, yeah. This game's played in like 94. And in the game in question, with the player in question that I was playing, I was probably 2250, 2300 USCF, and my opponent was about 2150 USCF. And I asked the 7-year-old, I said, white's up a pawn. How do you win this pawn back? and the kid looked and said, knight takes pawn, and if he plays knight takes knight, then you play mate. And ever since that 7-year-old told me that, I've been playing knight takes pawn. Twice before he told me that, I had played bishop takes knight and knight takes e5. So who's paying whom for the lesson? Yeah. Good thing their English wasn't that good. They wouldn't know about who and whom. Yeah. All right, let's see. Don't read the chat. Why am I reading the chat? Stop reading the chat. All right. Ugh. All right. All right, good. What a blunder reading the chat. Okay. So he played bishop e2. Check. And again, I've had this position on stream. If knight e5, rook d1's mate. Okay, king e2. So basically, we have a very equal kind of position, except I have 2 bishops. Otherwise, it's about equal. Okay, and we developed our pieces. Now I'm threatening the h-pawn, so he moved it. I messed up his pawn structure, but he had to play h3 first. Okay, now, most of you have heard of Capablanca, and Capablanca said you should advance your pawn majority to endgame. This ending should probably be a draw, but if you're going to take white or black, you would take black, of course. So I played a6, ready to advance my pawns. g6, saving my pawn. And then I pushed my queenside pawns, and I have a queenside majority. Move my king up. And again, this should be a draw, but black is better. And the engine says black's up like 0.5 or something. Okay. And moving my pawns up to the east side. Okay. Engine says bishop b2 is good. Bishop b4 is okay. Trade. Okay. And he played bishop d4. All right. And what I could have done if I wanted to, which I didn't, which I actually would usually do, is I would start the lecture from this position. I wouldn't have even have shown you the beginning of the game, but I wanted to show you how it happened. Okay, chat, don't read the chat. Okay. Now, the engine says every move is equal, and actually, it doesn't necessarily not play my move because I'm on depth 30, and it says 3 moves are equal. So it could play my move. My move is clearly the best of the moves that are mentioned. The reason is it gives my opponent an excellent opportunity to make a mistake. However, it doesn't give anything away. It's just a free shot, as we say. Okay? I'll give you an example that Dominic will be nodding his head and he'll have to get like a neck brace. He's going to agree so much with this, it's going to be weird. Now, in poker, this has happened many times, and Dominic's a lot younger than me, so he probably doesn't know about this as much as I do. The reason he doesn't know about it is to him it's going to be stupid. To him it's going to be stupid. But Dominic, ask some of your poker friends about this, and they will nod and tell you about times it happened, and you will be surprised. Because you're not as old as I am. You haven't played as much poker as me. Okay. On the river, when the board is already filled up, the hand's over. And the board has Broadway. And there's no flushes out there. Okay? It's a guarantee that everybody has the same hand. However, in many instances, you can bet at that board and get everybody to fold. Now, obviously, nobody could legally be better than anybody else, but that doesn't stop them from folding, okay? And the most famous instance that I know of, and maybe Dominic knows more famous, is when Barry Greenstein did this on television. He made a bet on the river when the board played, and everybody folded. I think it was like 3 people folded, okay? This is a situation in poker where, unless there's some rake issue, which there could be, you get a free roll. You bet, and then if everybody folds, you win. And if anybody calls or raises, you don't lose. Okay, and there's other instances of this. But probably Dominic will be surprised if he talks to some of his friends and says, now Ben says, when the board plays on the river, you can bet and win it sometimes. And they'll be like, oh yeah. And then Dominic's like, what? How are you playing with such people? And the fact is, that's what people are. They, that's how it rolls. So this is a free roll that this is a good example of that. Now we'll see if Dominic opines in the chat. Only works against Americans. Excellent answer. That's a good answer. Man, those Germans are all smiles and sunshine. That was a good answer, Dominic. I like that. Still works today. Oh yeah, it'll work today. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's actually funny. Yeah. No, not 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Broadway, where it's 10 Jack Queen King Ace. No, not. Yeah. Anyway. It still works today is correct. All right. Now, in this position, I made such a move. And this move would work against a very high percentage of people. I played bishop a3. Now, obviously, I'd like to queen my pawn, so moving the rook, horizontally isn't a good idea, because then I move my pawn. You see what I'm saying? You're going to move the rook vertically. Okay? Now, here's what you should do, and you never do it. Never. You've never done this. Never. And you should do it. So maybe you'll do it later in your life, and you'll be like, yeah, Ben told me about that. When your opponent makes a move that you find silly and has an obvious refutation, if your opponent's a reasonable player, you should think twice. Okay? Now my move, bishop a3, there's actually only one move that white can play where he's not losing. So it's an excellent move because every move is equal, but my move beats almost every move on the board. That's pretty good. Still equal, but yeah. All right, let's see here. Tough games in Vegas. There are tough games in Vegas. Making fun of Vegas. Let's see. I know one thing. If every game in Vegas was easy and you win every hand, might live in Vegas. Might. Yeah, Colmonosaurus gave 5 subs. Right. So the most boring move is rook c2. And that is the correct move. Then the position is equal. Now it says it's equal, but I'm going to take black all day because I have a passed pawn on the 5th rank. My opponent has no passed pawns. My opponent has 2 isolated pawns. My opponent's never going to queen. So basically, if 2 engines are playing, it's going to be a draw. But if 2 humans are playing, it's going to be a draw or black's going to win. My opponent blundered. He played rook c3. And the reason he played rook c3 is he thought there were 2 possibilities. I would move my bishop away and we would repeat, or I would move my bishop to some passive square like f8 or e7, or I would play bishop b2 and that would help him. So he figured, why play a boring move when I can give my opponent a chance to make a mistake? And that was mildly insulting to me, since I wasn't a grandmaster then, but I had a grandmaster's rating. I was a higher rated player. I was a well-known player. If rook c3 was a good move, I wouldn't play bishop a3. Bishop a3 would be nonsensical if rook c3 was good. So he should have taken some extra time and thought, why did my opponent do such a thing? And because he's 2400 USCF, it's possible he would have been, oh, okay, never mind. I won't play rook c3. But he played rook c3 pretty quickly. Okay. Right. Now I played the move bishop b2. He played rook c2, obviously. And now I take his bishop. And this, to him, when he played rook c3, looked quite silly. Right. Now, I show this position to some of my students when I was teaching. And I tell them, black to move, do you think white's better or black's better or it's equal? Good phrasing of the question. And the actual answer is black is winning. Okay, and there's only one move that wins. But when I was younger, and this game was played over 20 years ago, I was very good at calculating. So I would calculate a move that you would often play in the Tigorin when your opponent has a big pawn center, f5. Okay, after f5, there's two things white can do. White can play e5, or white can allow the pawns to be traded. If white allows the pawns to be traded, he can move his king up or just take. Okay, the best move is e5. That's the engine move. Then I play king d5. I mean, he would play king e3, obviously. And I would play rook b8. And he can't do anything. My king's better than his. My rook's better than his. And here comes my rook. Rook b1, and my rook just does everything. And then how are you going to defend these pawns? All right, so this should be winning for black. That's the best he can do. Instead, he played, I guess, the more obvious move, king e3. And then I trade, and I play king to d6. And I've actually shown this position to students from here. And I said, white to play. Is white better, black better, or draw? They give their answer. And then I tell them that my opponent resigned here. And when they say white's better or draw, they're very confused. Now, obviously, resigning here seems premature. But if you turn the engine on, which I have on now, at depth 27, it says I'm up 2.4. So if you don't do anything, I'll check your king to f3, and then I'll play king d5, and I win. If you play d5, then I play king c5. Then I play rook d1, rook e8 check, then I take. If you take this, I check you, and then I play rook to d8, and then I take it. So after king d6, he's just lost. When I played bishop b2, I saw this position. I saw after e5 king. I said, that's all good for me. He might do that because it looks really stupid for me to straighten his pawns out when actually it's winning. Because my king gets to go up. I have the rook behind the passed pawn. He can't activate his rook, etc. And as Hikaru likes to say, optically speaking, it just looks equal. Okay? But the thing is, it's hard to talk with your eyes. So it's hard to be optically speaking. You can do it, but it's not easy. So actually, probably rook c3 loses the game. It's probably losing after that. It's pretty innocuous, I think, right? I thought it was innocuous, but it was innocuous. And rook c2 is probably just equal. So the game ended pretty quickly, and he resigned. Confusing the audience. Yeah. That's right. What does it mean when a chess puzzle says white to play and win? Okay, let's break it down. In this position, it's white's turn to move. And if we go back, here it's black's turn to move. And black played king d6. So white to play means it's white's turn to move. That's the first part. Okay. The second part, win, well, the definition of win depends on what your skill level is. So in theory, it means obtain an obviously winning position. So if you have a move that wins a queen, and then you're up a queen for nothing, that would be a good answer. If you have a move that wins a rook, that would be a good answer. So if you're winning material and you're ahead and the engine says you're plus 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, that would be winning. Now, the definition of winning changes from person to person. So, I mean, it's sort of like Soylent checkmate. It varies from person to person. Win means that the person who made the puzzle thinks that the position should be winning against anybody, that anybody should beat anybody. If two engines are playing, white always wins, every time. So if two engines are playing and white scores 10 out of 10, that's winning. If it scores 7 out of 10, that's not winning, that's just much better. So normally it means winning a large amount of material. That's what it normally means. Normally. Yeah. Well, the white part, but I mean, the part about winning is, unclear. Yeah. I recommend nothing. You have to find the worst possible move in a position. I mean, that's so many jokes I'm not making. Yeah. Yeah, there is something to Dan Telzard. Let me answer your question the most accurate way I can. If you want to see anti-puzzles where you're finding the worst possible moves in the position, there is a name for that. It's called PogChamps. And now you know what it's like when a comedian has a gun. That is correct. That's right, Bonarich. You weren't expecting that. And so on. The truth hurts. All right. Yeah, that's the name of it. Okay, let's go to the next game. Let's go to, okay. And then Control C, Control V. That's correct. PogChamps. Don't get banned. Banned for what? Like Simon Williams' joke. Also good. My joke was better. Yeah. Let's see. Go PogChamps. That's correct. All right. Yeah, they were going to ask Ginger GM to play in PogChamps, but he was not strong enough. And he said, I thought you wanted me to coach. And they were laughing and laughing. So, yeah, it turned out that he did this on the down low, but I'm a GM, so I know. He actually gave endgame lessons to all the PogChamps players. So that explains a lot. Yeah. All right, back to whatever it is I was doing. Yeah. Okay, so this game was played in Vegas, and my opponent was under 18, so it's very suspicious. All right, and his rating was about 2,000. All right. And we played very sharp, complicated. Okay. And, okay, this is the beginning of theory. Now, in this position, most super grandmasters castle, and some of them play queen a5, and maybe one or two play knight d7. Okay, I invented a move here, which only I play. The engines don't like it. Bishop b7. Develops my bishop, gives my queen an extra square in case they do this, which they sometimes do. Gives my rook a square, and if I play c5, I'm defending this some more. The engine doesn't like this move, and nobody's played it but me. I play it all the time. Okay. My opponent played bishop f3, which is a mistake. The main move is queen g3, and then I play king f8. And again, the engine doesn't like it, but that's what I do, and my results are pretty good. My opponent played bishop f3, and obviously this is, aimed towards stopping me from playing c5 because he's hammering me on d5. But since he can't play queen g3 anymore, I don't really care about that. Since he can't play queen g3, I castled because he's not, killing me here. Okay, he played h4. I played knight to d7, which is a move that you want to play in this opening because you control the dark squares with your knight and you open up this line for your bishop. Now, of course, if it was my turn, I could play e5 attacking the bishop and d4, which I did do. And the engine already says that black is better here because bishop f3 is a bad move. Okay, he played rook h3. He's, going to sacrifice and mate me and all that. Okay, whoa, that was not what I meant to do, of course. Okay. I played e5, and he sacked a piece, which is correct. Otherwise, I'm just going to win a piece with d4. So you might as well mate me if you're going to lose a piece. I played d4. Okay. Exactly. What do you do in Vegas under 18? You bring a fake ID with you, I guess. All right, now he played queen to d2, which is correct. And I took on c3, which is correct. And in this position, no matter what he does, he's losing. But probably queen takes c3 is best. Probably. But he's still losing. He took on d7. So material is equal, and this bishop is hanging, and this bishop is hanging. So it's a very complicated position. Okay, I played the best move, queen to b6, threatening mate in 1, defending my bishop, and now if my bishop moves, I can play rook to d8, bishop doesn't move, and he's losing in this position. Okay, now I'll ask you to find a move in the chat, which I haven't done this whole lecture. The engine says black is approximately +2, approximately, if white plays the best move. If white doesn't play the best move, then black is approximately +10. So you got to play the best move to continue playing the game. What is the best move for white? Now, this is not a joke I'm about to tell you. I'm not kidding. The first 3 moves suggested in the chat are all illegal. Somebody said b2, somebody said king b2, and somebody said king e2. So those are all illegal. You can't play b2, you can't play king b2, and you can't play king e2. So the class is going slow today. Bishop g4 hangs queen b2 mate. Pawn takes pawn, loses to bishop a3 check and rook d8. Bishop takes d3 is illegal. King b9 for my brother. King g1. All right, rook d3. Rook d3 is the 3rd best move. Then the engine says I'm +12. Okay, the correct move, which is suggested by several people, is b3. Okay. Now, if you put this position on your engine, it doesn't like my move as much as the move that it does like, but my move is better. And the reason my move is better is it gives him more chances to make a mistake, which he immediately did. Trying to figure out why. It's been a while. Because now I like the engine move better. Interesting. I know why I like my move better now. Yeah, okay, now I know why I like my move better. Okay, so there's 2 moves that make a lot of sense. Queen b4, which somebody mentioned. Several people mentioned. And nobody mentioned the move that I played. Nobody did. Okay. Zero people. All right. Well, queen a5 is, I think I can just take this. Maybe I can't. Queen takes a2. Well, queen a5, probably king b1 is good. Yeah. Okay. So the question is, which move is better, queen b4 or queen c5? The engine says queen b4 is better. I play queen c5, and I won the game immediately, and you'll see why. Okay. Now in this position, black has a threat that you see, Black has a threat that you don't see. This is the one you see, right? The one you don't see is bishop c8. And after bishop c8, white loses all of his pieces. His rook's hanging on h3, his bishop's hanging on h6, and his queen is semi-trapped. And the reason queen c5 is better than queen b4 is queen c5 forces him to play the correct move. And queen b4 doesn't force him to play the correct move. Okay, bishop c8 is hard to see. Now, the right move for white is very hard to see unless you're a grandmaster. Even then, the right move was not played by my opponent. The right move is king b1. The reason it's king b1 is after queen a3, obviously bishop c1, which most of you didn't see. But more importantly, and this is the weird part, this is why chess is very difficult. After bishop c8, you have bishop e3. And that is why king b1 is the correct move as opposed to what my opponent played. What my opponent played allowed me to play queen a3 check, and then I could take his queen, so he can't play bishop e3. Now if I play queen a3, he plays bishop c1. Again, it's good to have black here, but it's not as winning as the game. King b1 is the only move. Obviously, always play king b1. And the engine says black is like +1. Okay. My opponent played rook d3. Obviously, he wants to run his king out. And he didn't see bishop c8. Now, the reason queen c5 is better than queen b4 is my opponent's not going to play king b1. Very unlikely. Okay, because he's not going to see queen a3, bishop c1, or he might not see what to do after bishop c8. And after bishop c8, if my queen is on b4, the engine move, now he plays queen c7. Now, before we go any further, he has to play queen c7. There's no other square. So, if you assume my opponent's going to play rook d3 more often than king b1, which I guarantee is the case, queen c5 is better than queen b4. Why? I'm going to show you why. After queen c7, what is the most crushing move in chess history? Well, actually, I took the rook on h3, which is actually the best move. And the idea is, if you take my rook, which you should do, the difference is, with my queen on c5, I mean, every move is winning, but we have rook a7. And after rook a7, you resign, because the queens will be traded. Obviously, after queen to b4, there's no rook a7. And after rook a7, there's no reason for white to keep playing. White has no pieces left. White could do something like bishop e3 or b4, but we just take his queen and take his bishop, and we're up 1,000 pieces. There's no attack. So the point of queen c5 is I have rook a7. With the queen on b4, I do not have rook a7. The other point is, with the queen on b4, he can play queen takes e5 threatening mate. Whereas with the queen on c5, he can't. So practically speaking, queen c5 is the superior move for all of those reasons. Now, if you're playing an engine, and the engine's going to play king b1, then queen b4 is a better move. I wasn't playing an engine. I was playing a 2000 player. Okay, he played here. I played bishop c8. I took. He took. I took. He played b4. I played rook a7, and he resigned because he doesn't have any pieces left. Rook a7 isn't the engine move. It's just the move that makes him resign. Because with the queens off the board and him down a rook, there's no reason to play. I could be up more material probably if I did something else. Queen takes b4 is more winning. Right. And the game's over. What's funny is queen c5 is a very disguised move. It looks like I played queen c5 so I could play mate. Right? But I actually had two other reasons. I was stopping queen takes e5, and I was allowing rook a7, which queen b4 doesn't do. So I like queen c5 better. So the game ended immediately. Obviously, he didn't see bishop c8, always retreat. Bishop c8 is a very tough move to see if you're like a club player or an amateur player, because black's trying to mate white, white's trying to mate black, everybody's sacrificing everything. So just retreating moves like that are hard to see. And then, okay, white doesn't have any pieces left. So, yeah. And then white's like, where'd my pieces go? So basically, white lost all of his pieces and resigned, and it was sort of out of the blue. You know, sort of like this, you know, out of the blue. Yeah. Is it best to move bishop c1? What? Well, this game was played before you were born, so I don't know. Why doesn't bishop c8 work earlier? Well, okay, I don't know what earlier you mean. Here it obviously wouldn't make sense. And then bishop c8 here hangs my bishop. And then queen g5 would be annoying. So, yeah, now it works. Yeah, right. You want to defend your bishop, not trade queens. Yeah. Now, if you're going to play bishop c8 and win, if you want your queen on c5. Queen on b4, he plays queen c7. He's still like a little bit losing, but queen c7, queen takes e5. I can't play rook a7. That's where you want your queen. The queen's doing yeoman's work, like yo mama work. Even this pawn's defended. Look. I'm defending everything with my queen on c5. Also, queen takes f2 later. I don't know when, but later. So rook d3 is like a double question mark move because of bishop c8. If you don't see bishop c8, rook d3 is reasonable. King b1 is the double exclam move because always play king b1. And after queen a3, bishop c1 is safe. After bishop c8, bishop e3 is safe. By safe, black is still close to winning, but not like in the game where they just resign. So basically, what you're supposed to learn from this game is always play king b1. Yeah. It's very strange to play bishop h6 and then play bishop c1. That's not what you're looking for. However, in this Hungarian opening trap, which you're all familiar with, why did I play d4? He can play d4, but all right. I've had people resign here with black. Black should play knight h6 and then castle. And then one of the best moves for white, maybe not the best, is bishop c1, which saves the bishop and defends this pawn. So I'm always looking at bishop c1, my bishop's on h6. Not sure why. Resigns. Yeah, I get that resigns a lot. Yeah. Isn't it against chess principles to play weaker moves since it promotes bad habits? That is correct. Okay. Chat makes no sense. Chat makes no sense. Chat makes no sense. Who's a mod here? Makes no sense. Why doesn't rook a7 work? Makes no sense. All right. Good chat. Why am I looking at the chat again? All right. Now we'll look at the last game in our series here. Against this guy. How do I get back to what am I doing? Help. All right. Let's thank our donors. Happen to have black in all of these games because that's, always bet on black. I don't know. I can't get my mouse to work or my monitor or my lights or my Perrier. My Perrier is broken. Damn. All right. Pinky Jim gifted a sub. Thank you. Frosty Balrog resubscribed. Thank you. And that's all I missed. Okay. Go Pinky Jim. All right. Now, this is my most famous game. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. And it's a Sicilian, and my opponent played the move bishop e3, which is okay. And after this, he made quite a bad move. This is a mainline Sicilian position that I've had before. Probably bishop e3 isn't the most common move, but it's okay. And he played knight b5, which is obviously shallow and pedantic. I moved my queen because I saw it was hanging. His pawn's hanging. He should probably go back. Played f3. Never play f3. Bishop e7. Okay. Now, this is something I could lecture on for hours because I used to get paid by the hour. Now that I don't get paid by the hour, this won't last very long. That's what she said. When you play knight b5, whether it's a good move or a bad move, here it's bad, then you have to move your knight again because it's attacked. Psychologically, it's very difficult to move it back to c3. For strong grandmasters, that's not an issue. But for low-rated players, it seems somewhat nonsensical to do that, so they try to find a reason for their move. J. Vapsva subscribed. Good. So he played knight here, which isn't very good. And if you've read Dvoretsky books, which is unfortunate for you, you know that's called the superfluous knights. Okay, and knights actually aren't very good, I agree. Chessbra subscribed. Whatever, that is correct. Okay, I played knight e5. Knight's good in the center. And then I played every Sicilian dreamer's move that, the dreamers came here to have a life. d5. Threatening his pawn, and he traded. And whenever there's a trade in the center of these two pawns, you always want your pawn on f2. I mean, f3 is to defend your e4 pawn, not to trade it off. Now your king's just weak. Okay, also Perina doesn't like it or something. Okay, and he played bishop to g5. All right, now you've all seen this position before, and this is where I played my most famous move. And depending on what engine you have and what depth you have, it doesn't say it's the best move. Right now, at depth 21, it is the best move. So I'm impressed. Now it's the second best move. Boo, boo. More direct payments. Hooray. Wait, he tested positive. He just tested negative. What? What's going on here? How can everybody be positive and negative? Very confused. Yeah, truth hurts. All right. What? Let's see. Never play f6. Right. Isidinho knows the position. Yeah. Okay, so I played knight d3 check, obviously, and frankly. And whether the move is the best move on the board or not, I mean, obviously you got to play knight d3 check if you see it. Now, the obvious idea is I'd like to play bishop b4 winning his queen, but he plays c3, and then I would be PO'd because of d2, okay, and so forth. See, yeah. So after knight d3 check, if he captures it, bishop b4 wins his queen. His queen is defending his bishop, so queen takes a knight, bishop takes bishop, favors black, because I got good control of the dark squares. I have the two bishops. I have the what else. And if he plays bishop takes, queen e5 check, and I win my piece back. Again, with dark square domination. So when I played knight d3 check, he played king f1, which I expected. And whether or not knight d3 check is the engine move, and that would depend how many ply you have your engine go, and this game was played over 20 years ago, so maybe it was the engine move 20 years ago. Engines then. It's an exciting move to play, and it's, earth-shattering for your opponent, hard for your opponent to play well after that. Right. The way I found the knight move was I realized after bishop here he could play c3, and it dawned on me if I checked, he couldn't take with the pawn. So then I looked at the other captures and realized I had, stuff there too. And as a professional player, you should always look for checks and captures because they could be winning moves. Daniel Naroditsky's rating with 582 viewers. Go Danya. Now first, we're going to have a moment of silence. Thanks, Karen. Because I was informed, and I'm not saying it's true, that Danya lost his match today. And Danya never loses. So 3 match results really shocked me in the Danya series. I was told he lost to Mamedov today. I don't know if that happened, but I was told. And yeah, I mean, that's a surprising result. The other surprising result, and again, I don't know if it's true, is the other match you lost to like Salas. That also really surprised me. Right. And the other match that I thought you were going to win both of those matches. The other match that surprised me was the match you won. When I say it surprised me, I mean what I thought would happen before the match. Which match do you think Danya won that really surprised me? Does anybody know? Probably Danya knows. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, I thought Wesley was going to tear you to shreds. And not only did he not tear you to shreds, you tore him to shreds. You won like 7 games in a row in the 1 minute? God damn. Yeah, now, I thought in the 1 minute you were the slight favorite. And then the 5 and 3, I didn't think you were going to do very well. But it turned out you did okay in the 5 and 3, better than I thought. And you destroyed him in the 1 minute. I mean, yeah, but Danya's beaten like LeQuang Lim and Wesley So and Fischer and Morphy and Botvinnik and Capablanca. God damn. So I guess, losing for one match, that's, well, he beat Bortnick, right? Yeah. Yeah, I mean, this is, Daniel's beating everybody. Yeah. You got to lose occasionally, Daniel. Otherwise, nobody wants to play you. So I got to tell you a funny story. 2 funny stories, then I'll continue. Also, Danya, if you're watching, I'm sure he's left by now. Oh, you are watching. This is the greatest move I ever played. I played knight d3 check in a slow game. Now Daniel can give me accolades. Like, God damn, that's a good move. And my opponent played king f1. I hope Daniel is impressed. That is a good move, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, this is before you were born. How old is Daniel? He's about 24. Damn it! This was before you were born. Really? Yeah. This game was played before you were born, Daniel. All right. Okay. So, I got to tell you a funny story. When my dad was in his early 20s, he was in New York playing for money, and blitz chess, and his opponent was getting madder and madder. So my dad let him win a couple games, and then eventually it ended. The guy left, and one of the guys there said, "Yeah, that guy went to jail for throwing somebody through a wall." And my dad's like, "Thanks for telling me before I started playing him." Okay, but that's not my funniest story. Thanks, Bruiser Webb. My funniest story is when I was a kid. Some Christmas vacations from school, my dad would drive us to New York, and he would just drop me off, and I would get home somehow. We lived in Michigan. I'd find a way home. When I was like 13, 14, 15, 16, that was normal procedure. And I would play chess and hang out with people and find somewhere to stay, whatever. Anyway, once I went to a poker club with Michael and Sophia Road, and I was maybe like 14, 15. And I was sitting there with Sophia, and Michael was playing poker. And there was a guy there who was very tall. I would say 6'5". And he was getting mad. He was playing poker. And he would pound the table. Okay. At one point, he left. And I heard a really loud noise in the hallway. I didn't know what it was. Like God was mad somewhere. Okay. I don't know what the noise was. And he came back in, the tall guy, and it was okay. He was mad, but not really that mad. About an hour later, we left. When we got into the hallway, the payphone was ripped from the wall, and it was on the floor. I learned then there's some guys you don't mess with. Thanks, Pinky Jim, for the 5 subs. etc. All right, and then people are talking about other stuff. Yeah. Daniel's always the favorite in any chess thing you can make up. If I play Daniel 1 minute and he spotted me a queen, I'm probably a mild favorite. Mild. Okay. Yeah, he actually felt better after he ripped the phone out of the wall. Yeah. All right. Now, for most of you who are in your teens and 20s, you don't know what a payphone is, but all right. Yeah. 10 more cents. That's right. Yeah. Okay, let's continue with the game. I want to show you a mistake that he made later. Okay. Now, in this position, it may seem crazy, but I'm threatening e5 and his knight's trapped, which I find humorous. Okay, so he played g3. It's okay. Takes, castles. Okay, now he made a very bad move. Right now the engine says it's the best move. The engine's wrong. Okay, now it doesn't say it's the best move. Now it does again. All right, well, this move's not good. His next few moves are bad, probably still shaken up. He played king to g2, which weakens e3 in this diagonal. Here, now he made a bad move, rook d1, bishop b7, and now he blundered. Now, I showed this game a million trillion times, and I never realized that she was the one who shot Andy. Oh, wait, I never realized that my opponent's next move was a blunder, and my response was not the best. My response was based on a trick, but tricks are for kids. My opponent didn't like his king position, queen e5, knight here, something. So he played queen d6 to trade queens. This is a tremendous mistake. Now, the engine says the move that I played and the move that I thought about playing are equally good. But I think the other move is better. I played knight f5, and my reasoning was I wanted to give him an extra chance to take this pawn, which obviously loses the queen. I check and play queen takes queen. But if I play knight to d5, then he can't do that. So that's why I didn't play knight d5. Now, something that's up for discussion, which I'm probably not good enough to know, but the engine will help me, is white's losing if he takes the queen or plays this, but which is worse? And right now the engine says they're about the same. It actually says queen takes queen is better, which now means my move was correct because I let him play queen d2. And knight d5 doesn't let him play queen d2, and he shouldn't play queen d2. So now I'm all turned around on the subject. Now there's three moves for white. Retreat the queen, take this pawn, take the queen. Taking the pawn hangs the queen, and knight f5 allows that. Queen d2, queen d3 may or may not be better than queen takes queen. It looks like they're worse. This means my move gave him three choices, and knight d5 gives him one choice, and it turns out that was the correct choice. Therefore, my move is better. Damn. And the point is, I have a Zwischenzug, and now Dominic is furious. He's like, he's saying some word, but I don't know what it is. It's not German. That's what he's thinking. After queen takes queen, I don't recapture. I check here first. That's why he shouldn't play king g2, rook d1. If he plays king f2, I play another Zwischenzug. If he moves his king somewhere else, now when I take his queen, I have all these threats. Okay, and I'm up, it says I'm up 2.6. So he didn't like that, so he played queen to d2. All these years, I thought queen d2 was an improvement over queen takes queen, and the engine says no. It says he should have played queen takes queen. This is even better for black. So that means my move was correct. Makes you think. Okay. So what's the right move here for black? Anybody? What's the correct move for black here? Bishop f3 hangs a bishop. It's not always a sacrifice. Rook d1 is illegal. There's already a rook on d1. Dante is the first to be correct. Most of you just write illegal moves. Oh well. Okay. Queen e5. The Andy comments, I've already made that reference like twice. What's that reference? I already forgot. I forgot what I said. Okay, now I'm threatening a pawn and I'm threatening knight e3 check. Both moves win. What was I referencing? I don't know. Even I don't know what I'm doing. All right, king f2, and I take. Okay, now, once again, I would discuss the next thing for an hour if I got paid by the hour. Okay, c3. And if you play the wrong move after c3, you will be PO'd if you allow r2, d2, which you can't do after c3 and you're PO'd. What was the Indy one? It was the Reservoir Dogs discussion. That is correct. Yeah. It was from the night the lights went on in Georgia. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Okay. Now, if you have a chess coach, and some of you do, and your coach says always trade when you're ahead, get a new chess coach. Okay, you got a wrong chess coach. If you have a book and the book says always trade when you're ahead, throw the book in the fireplace. Okay? In chess, you trade bad pieces for good pieces. When trading queens, the most obvious thing of importance is whose king is safer, and it's obvious to anybody that black's king is safer here. So you don't want to trade queens. Trading queens is silly because then white's king is very safe. So you play queen a3, and that's obviously the engine move. Okay, it is rook 1 to d2, but that wouldn't, that wouldn't, help with the joke wouldn't be funny then. If you look in the corner of the stream, in the top right, it says chess.com. And the board I'm using is chess.com. So otherwise, you're right. I stopped using chess.com. No. Okay, now he played knight d4. Okay, and now I'm ahead, so I traded. Okay, and then he took back. I put my bishop on d5. So you can see, Ish don't think so. Very bad position for white. Okay, he played rook b1, defending, rook c8. Okay, and now he made another mistake, which, you'll often see. I played rook c8, so he plays rook c1, which is a blundering material. The reason rook c1 blunders material is quite funny. I thought it was humorous, but that's because I broke a bone. Rook takes c1, winning a pawn. And even though he has 3 ways to recapture, they all lose a pawn. If he takes with the knight, I take on f3. So that would be very bad. If he takes with the rook, I take this, and I'm up 2 connected passed pawns. Also, his king's not very good, or his pawn structure. So when he played rook c1, he didn't expect me to take and give up the c file, but I'm actually just taking because he can't defend these 3 things. So he just blundered a pawn, which I thought was funny. Okay, he played queen c1, I took again, and he played knight d2, and now my queen's trapped, so if it was his move, he'd play rook a1, I guess. And my pawn is attacked. So I stopped him from winning my queen, and I stopped him from taking my pawn. I played queen a5. Now I'm up 2 connected passed pawns. My bishop is good. My king is safe. He can't make any threats. I never noticed this before, but at depth 19, 20, 21, the engine plays here. Wow. That's a funny move. I'm just going to play b5, queen b6, Papa John's. Yeah. So here he resigned. And I won. Hooray for Ben. Now, Papa John's, that's right. Now, somebody said something funny, or wait, nobody said anything funny. 420. There's a funny end to this story of this game. When this was round 1 of the New York Open. Let me see what year it was. Was it 93? 94. This was round 1 of the 1994 New York Open. I won. And then in round 9, the last round, I was playing World Junior Champion Ilya Gurevich. And we both had 6 out of 8. He was higher rated than me. And the game ended in a draw. So we tied for like 8th place, 9th place. And we won $125, I remember. Yeah. Okay. This guy, who I beat in the first round, he finished with 6 out of 9, which is half a point less than what I got. However, he won a class prize under $2,400. What did he win? $4,000. Go class prizes. Okay. And I said, why does he get a class prize and I don't? And the organizer said, Ben, you have no class. 999 centidues. Go bean counter strike 25. Yeah. No, but I got a lot of dates after that tournament. Not because of my score, but a lot of women, told me that I should call them when I had no class. Because I was always going to class. It was a lot funnier when Rodney said it. A lot funnier. It's from back to school. No, nothing. Who was he? What was her name? Sally Kellerman. Yeah, he said, he asked her out on several dates, and she said, I have class then, because she was a teacher. And he said, call me when you have no class. So it was Rodney, that's right. At least 15 years. That's right, the $125. That's right. Exactly. Go Ben. That is correct. Yeah, tough crowd is right. Yeah. That's right, he did the triple Indy. I saw Sam Kinison in concert in Columbus, Ohio before most of you were born. Probably 1987. Anteater of Power subscribed. He was pretty loud. Yeah. He was in that movie. That is correct. It was a strange movie, but yeah. Go Buckeyes. Boo. I mean, all right. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show you today as far as games from the past and, playing stuff, that the engine may or may not say is correct, but sometimes it works out anyway because the correct move is basically impossible to find. Now, since we haven't streamed very long, I'm going to have to show you something else, and I have something in the back of my head. Get that out of there. Okay, it's my game with the Dean of American Chess, Dean Ippolito. Whoa, what did I do? Man, I did something. Wow, that was crazy what I did. I know what I did, and I was innocent. All right, so I'm going to explain why it's interesting. Now, for some of you, if you saw the game today between Anand and Gelfand, their first game, it reminded me of this game. Gelfand was equal or better, and then time trouble, and then passed pawns, and then resigns. So if you saw that game, all right, and I'll show you the whole game. Why not? Okay, so several times I played in the Spice Cup in Texas Tech, and then Susan and Paul moved up to St. Louis, and they started having the Spice Cup in St. Louis, which I also played in. And when I played in Texas Tech, it was a round robin, and twice I tied for first. Once I came in second, and this one I came in last. This was one of the worst tournaments I've ever had. This is the only game that I won. And Dean was on his way to a GM norm, and this was played in round 5 or 6, and I beat him, and that was the end of his norm. Wasn't looking good after this game. Okay, so we played Queen C2 Nimzo where I was black, which is very rare. Very rare. And he played a line I wasn't expecting. Okay, and this is all fine. I played D5, which probably isn't the best move. It's okay. C takes D5 may also not be the best move. I mean, he takes. Okay, the engine likes black. Okay, fine. Okay, now, we got this position, and I made a very bad miscalculation, and the engine does not agree with me. It says, what you did was fine, and this is the right move, and you're great. Okay, it says that now. It says now I made the right move. And I'll show you what I missed. I've shown you on the stream before. Okay, rook e3. Now, you can't play bishop h7 check now because I take with the knight, and if you take my rook, I take your bishop. If you take my queen, I take your queen. So you have to take the knight first, which is fine. Okay, now I can't take your bishop, so this is a good move. 999, Pinky Jim, thank you. Okay, I take back. It doesn't matter which queen takes is better. He checks, he wins my rook. Okay. And the engine said this was good for black, but now it says it's good for white. So I'm making all the engine moves. The engine just changed its mind. So never mind. Okay. All right. Now, we got this position, king g8. That's correct. And I calculated this when I played rook takes e3. And I said, well, I'm going to play knight c5 next move, and I'm going to play knight e5 next move, and I like black. And my opponent played b4, which obviously stops knight c5. And I realized after he played b4 that if I play knight e5, which was my plan, he just takes this. I thought this won his queen, but obviously this defends his queen. So then I was like, oh, I'm losing. I can't play knight e5. I lose a pawn. I can't play knight c5. He's just going to play knight b3, take my pawn. He's up for exchange for a pawn. My bishop's bad. I have an isolated pawn. I'm completely losing. The engine does not agree. The engine says black is okay. Okay. Now, the engine 15 years ago, even though this game was played less than 15 years ago, which makes you think, thanks, bishop takes, says I should play knight f8 to e6. In fact, the engine now says that. I thought after here, he would just pick up this pawn. You know, knight b3 and rook d1 and take this. Okay. Anyway, I decided now to go crazy. Okay, I'm not sure if it was like Fox News or it was like Heart. Doesn't matter. And I played a5. He played knight b3, bishop a6. He has to play b5, and then I sacrificed with knight c5. So after I realized knight e5 didn't work, this was plan B. Takes, c4, I'm sorry, takes. Okay, so I'm down a rook, but I have the 3 passed pawns in the center. Now, if you're an engine, white's winning. The engine doesn't care about 3 passed pawns. If you're a human, the weaker you are at chess, the more you like the pawns. So if you think black is winning, that's because you're a low-rated player. If you think this is an easy win for white, then you're one of the top 10 players in the world at engine. Now, me and Dean Ippolito, we're right in the middle, so I was like, I don't know. This is better than being losing. This is tricky. Now, when the game concluded, which it concluded in about 13 more moves, my opponent said, I was completely winning, ridiculous, rawr, and so forth. He was very mad because technically he's winning. Now, in the A group of this tournament, I was in the B group, obviously, was Onishuk and Ray Robson. And Onishuk was like, dude, I heard Ippolito complaining about he was completely winning. And I'm like, yeah. He says, show me. And I almost never seen it in my life. Onishuk was laughing and like falling off his chair laughing because White said he was completely winning. And Onishuk said, this is just a big mess. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I was winning or losing, right? So when somebody says they're completely winning, usually their opponent's not getting 3 queens. Now, if you watch the Legends tournament today, the first game of the match between Anand and Gelfand, I think it was the first game, they got a similar ending with a rook and lots of pawns against 2 rooks, and Anand won down a rook with his passed pawns on the 6th and 7th rank. Yeah. All right. Good evening. You would lose both sides. That's correct. Okay. So let's have a look at the game. Rook A, B1 is the engine move. D3 is the engine move. Rook B5 is the engine move. D4 is reasonable. Rook C1 is a good move. Very good move. 200 cent to deuce. Thanks, Grungewart. Queen E6 is the only move. There's no other move. Okay. Rook C5 is fine. Queen E3 check is the only move. Queen takes E3 is the only move. Takes is the only move. So the last few moves since the sacrifice, the engine says we're playing great. Likes the way we're playing. Okay. It says he's fine. Okay. Now, the only mistake he made in the game which prevented him from winning was this move. Later in the game, it was a draw, and he blundered and lost. But I was completely winning if that was his, this was where he messed it up. Okay, now, nobody on earth would ever play this move, ever. It would never happen. If your opponent played this move, he would be kicked out of chess forever for cheating, forever. Everybody would kick him out. He would kick himself out for cheating. He'd be like, yeah, I was cheating. Come on. Now, I've shown this to many people. I've shown it to the stream before, but it's been about a year. I've shown it in lessons. I've shown it thousands of times. The only person who never saw it before, who solved it, was Nigel Short. And I told Nigel, this is a computer move. And he solved it in about 2 minutes. And he said, well, he told me it was a computer move. That's how I solved it. If I didn't tell him that, he ain't going to solve it. If you solved it, it's because you're using an engine or you remember me showing you this position before. And the point of the story is, it's funny that he was like, I was completely winning when nobody on earth would ever play the winning move here. Okay. And even though I've shown this before, nobody in the chat has the right move. Right. Which is funny. Yeah, he actually played King F1. It's a move you would never consider, and it makes perfect sense. I understand the move. Yeah. So either you guys forgot. If you forgot and you're not using an engine, you ain't going to get it. Okay. The only winning move is Rook A1. Okay. And that move makes sense. And the reason it makes sense is you can't allow E2 or D2 with tempo. And the reason Rook B1 doesn't work, which also stops, is I play Rook B6. And you can't take my Rook because I play D2. And I gain a tempo. Your Rook has to go to A1 then, but with the Rook on B6, I can draw. After Rook A1, he's winning. If E2, he plays King F2, and my pawns can't move. And if D2, he plays King F1 to E2. And my pawn is hanging, and so forth. Okay, this is winning for white. Okay, Rook A1 is the only winning move. It actually does make sense. Obviously, if you're a grandmaster, it makes more sense. But you have to stop these moves from attacking the rook. And Rook B1, Rook B6, Rook takes Rook D2. So you got to play Rook A1. Rook A1 wins. Now, the point isn't Rook A1 wins, he didn't find it, and okay. The point is, when somebody says I was completely winning, and their only mistake was to not play Rook A1 here, saying they're completely winning is silly. And if you just saw this position, you wouldn't know who was winning. And if you were playing a blitz game, you'd probably want to have black, because in blitz chess, you just queen your pawns, and with white, you're like, what do I do? Okay, my opponent played the obvious move, king f1. Okay, I played the only move that draws, rook b6. He took, rook b2, and every move is a draw. It doesn't matter what he does, it's a draw. Rook d4 is fine. Okay, king g1 is the only drawing move. If he goes here, I fork him, and then here. Okay, now, here's how the game should end. The game should end with him moving his rook somewhere, doesn't matter where. I play rook here, threatening that. He plays king f1, and we repeat. So, for example, that's how the game should end. Okay, my opponent saw that, and he thought he was winning. So the game ended another way. He played check, or he played rook f1 first. That loses. Now I'm winning. Okay, and the way to draw now is white needs his rook here so he can play king f1. Obviously, he can't play king f1 now. He saw this. He was in time trouble. And he saw rook e2. He saw rook check. He saw rook b8. And he saw rook b1. And he thought he was winning. He's like, I'm winning. And of rook takes f1, rook takes b1, d1, and e2, 3 of those moves lose, but one of them wins. He didn't see the move that won because he was in time trouble. So when you're in time trouble and you make a very important decision, well, sometimes you lose. Yeah, it is puzzle rush time. That is correct. So what's the winning move for black? Right, rook takes b1. Yeah, he just forgot. Yeah. And then rook takes b1, and then e2, and he resigned. By the way, very similar to Gelfand Anand today. And what he should have done is anything but rook f1. Any other square would allow him to play king f1, and then we would draw the game. So the game should be a draw, and he basically found. Then he was really mad because he was completely winning the whole game, when in fact, the only move he could have played to win that game at any point, ever, was in this position. When he played king f1, he had to play rook a1, which again, nobody would ever play. So I played for some tricky line. It didn't work. I played another tricky line where I got a lost position that was very tricky. And that was the only game I won in the whole tournament. I lost to everybody this tournament. Then the very next year, I tied for first and got my final GM norm. Very suspicious. Right, rook f1, king f1 is, yeah. That's right. Nigel's older than me. He knows, Nigel knows stuff that none of us know. He's too old. Yeah, rook a1's the only winning move. And yeah, rook b1, rook b6 is funny. Yeah, I think is black winning here, or can white draw? Black's better here. The engine likes black. It doesn't say it's winning, but it's big advantage. Yeah. So rook a1, QED, setting up for the next game. By the way, there was a game today in the Legends. It was Leko Giri, the game Leko won, I think game 3 of their match. And at some point, Giri played like, king e8, queen d8. And then Grishuk said setting up for the next game like I do, but he said it a different way. So no copyright infringement. But what he said was he's setting up for the next game. But he didn't say it that way. He barely changed the verbiage, like setting up for another game. But he said something, and then, Leko crushed Giri until he didn't. Yeah. He was good until he wasn't. That's right. Well, the reason Nigel's so good is he lives in Greece. Wait, that doesn't help. Yeah. It's funny what happened. Here's what happened. I've said this on stream before. In the 1960s and 70s, there was a big race to become a British Grandmaster. They didn't have any good players in Britain. And everybody wanted to be good. Everybody was gung-ho. There was money thrown around. And it turned out they got lots of GMs, and those GMs were good. They got Keane to start, who wasn't that good. Then they got Miles and Nunn and Short and Spielman and etc. And in the 1980s, the team of Short, Nunn, Spielman, I'm drawing a blank here. Short, Nunn, Spielman, and Miles. And then Murray Chandler's not bad. Maybe he plays for England. Maybe he plays for New Zealand. Who knows? Doesn't matter. And there's some other GMs who are up and coming in the 90s, like Julian Hodgson and Sadler and so forth. Okay. And those are really Michael Adams. Okay. So you got an Olympic team that has the possibility of having Short, Spielman, Michael Adams, Tony Miles, John Nunn. All right, pretty strong Olympic team. And those teams were fighting for the top 5 places in like 86, 88, 90, 92, 94. Those guys were good. Well, between 2000 and 2020, what happened? Miles died. Spielman retired, sort of. Nunn retired. Short's in his 50s. Michael Adams is in his late 40s. All right, so who are the new guys? The new guys, there's grandmasters. Are they top 5 in the world? Are they top 10 in the world? Are they top 20 in the world? Are they top 30 in the world? Are they top 40 in the world? What happened? So you had 5 players who were top 40 in the world. 100%. Short, Spielman, Nunn, Miles, Adams. Definitely top 40 in the world. And then what happened? I don't know. I don't know. And now, if you said who were the top 6 players in England, you still got Short and Adams. I mean, come on. Come on. There's some other players who are good. They're 2650 FIDE. They're 2700 FIDE. But they're nowhere near the top 30, 40 in the world. Howell's okay. And Gawain Jones is okay. But they're not winning the Olympiad, if you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, they're not fighting for medals. Right, England's okay. They got, they'll come in 20th in the Olympiad, but they're not going to come in 3rd or 4th. Yeah. So, yeah, I don't know. We had Tony Miles' lecture a few months ago. These guys are okay. Shane's okay. Yeah. I mean, these guys aren't fighting for candidate spots and winning the world championship. You know what I mean? The guys I was talking about from the 80s and 90s, those guys were good. That was a good Olympic team. They might not have liked each other, but a lot of Olympic teams don't like each other. That's okay. Yeah. Who's good now? U.S. is okay. Russia's okay. India's okay. China's okay. Ukraine is okay. England's not fighting for a medal in the Olympiad. Yeah. So it was weird. So many good players in the 80s and 90s that were like world class. And then that's it. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Michael Adams might be the best player in England now, and he's 100. I think Michael Adams is the best player in England, and he's 47. Yeah, he's probably 47. Maybe he's 48. I don't know. Ridiculous. Is somebody clearly better than Adams now? You guys think Adams is the best? I think Adams is the best. I mean, he could lose a match, but I would assume he'd be the favorite if he was playing the other top players in Great Britain. Yeah. Who's the best Canadian? Well, I mean, Canada's not really a world beater in, something. England was silver in the last world team? I don't believe that. Maybe like in some senior thing. Yeah. Yeah. I frequently stream, but don't tell my doctor. Or tell my doctor. So I like this kind of stream better because I don't like playing people, and I play bad now. So Karen wants me to do different kinds of streams, but I sort of like this one where I have some kind of theme and I show you stuff. Because when I play chess, it's just embarrassing. I mean, I can't play good anymore. Q Foxy subscribed. Good, good. I mean, it's like watching Anand play. Did you see what Anand did against Nepomniachtchi in the last game? I mean, knife F5. That was yesterday. But I mean, Anand can't miss knight F5 check. Come on, Anand. By the way, I knew it was going to happen. I knew it. I knew that when Gelfand won his first two matches, I was like, that's not the Gelfand I know. The Gelfand I know lose all his matches. And then he lost all his matches. Yeah. Including to Anand, and then some. Yeah, Anand beat Gelfand pretty handily, actually. Yeah. Yay, 1 cent to do. Jonathan Hawkins, god damn. Yeah. I haven't talked to Vishy in forever. Yeah. See, it's funny. Peter Lako plays well, but doesn't score well. That's Peter Lako. That's vintage Peter Lako. You're like, wow, that guy's great. Did he win the match? No. That's Lako. You're like, man, I'm really impressed with Lako. How's he doing? Not good. But yeah, it is impressive, except he never wins any of his matches. But I agree. He does play great. I agree. Obviously, he's not young anymore. Yeah. Man, Adams is number one in England. Adams is the oldest. Adams was number one in England 30 years ago. Come on. Jesus Christ. Is there any country in the world where a 47-year-old is the best player and Michael Adams was a very good player like in the mid-1990s. Michael Adams was really good. He was top 10 in the world for many years. Many years. By the way, I'm going to talk about something else. 100 centidues. Thank you. Somehow we have a train going, but I'm not sure how. 47. The first time I met Adams was in 1986 at a junior tournament, and I was 16. And Adams played Anand that tournament. Anand was also 16 because we're the same age. And I'm 50, so I'm going to guess Michael Adams is 47. He could be 48, could be 46, but I'm going to guess he's 47. Yeah. No, Ginger GM is not one of the top players in Great Britain. No. How can England have a monster Olympic team in the 80s and 90s? Monster. And then now, 2020, their best player is one of the guys on those teams. Come on. Yay, it's Varakobian rating. I knew Varakobian before you guys were born. Man, he's 49 or 48. Jesus. Hey, Var. I was just complaining, if you're listening, Var, which you probably aren't. Standard Average gave 5 subs. Thanks for the raid, Var. I was complaining to the chat, Var, that England was really good in the 80s and 90s. Short, Spielman, Nunn, Miles, Michael Adams, maybe Julian Hodgson, maybe. All right. Maybe Matthew Sadler. Okay. What happened? The highest rated player in England, Michael Adams, 48 years old. What happened? They were the second, third, or fourth best country in the world if you just look at the top 5. Those guys were monsters. All of those guys. Candidates, short played in the World Championship. They had a statue of Miles at Tilburg because he won 4 games in a row, which was a strong tournament then. Spielman was a candidate. Nunn was top 10 in the world. Michael Adams, top 10 in the world and candidate for years. And what happened? That's what I was complaining about. Yeah. John Spielman, top 10 in England, born in 1956. God damn. Anyway, the point of the story is where are the British players? Where'd they go? Where's the guys who were top 10, top 20, top 30 in the world? Where are they? There used to be many of them. Now what happened? I don't know. All right, Standard Average gave 5 subs. Good. And then Grungework gave 200 centidues. And then Randall gifted a sub. Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, Var's a great player. And then Var's not only a great player, But more important, VAR was losing to Fabi in the U.S. Championship, I don't know, 3, 4, 5 years ago. I don't know. We'll say 3 years ago. I don't know. And then Fabi played F6. And that was it. And that was the end of Fabi. True story. That whole story was true. I hope you guys know that game. It's like F6, 900 question marks, then VAR wins. And before that, Fabi's like 2 pass pawns up for nothing. You guys know the game I'm talking about? I almost want to find it. Man. Why was Shirov not allowed to play with Kasparov? Not sure if he wasn't allowed to, but you remember, I'll find it on the internet and I'll show you when he played F6. I mean, that's like the worst move anybody's ever played ever. Let's see, Jacobian. Okay. 2017? Possibly. I don't know. All right, who just gave me money? 200 centidues, Pinky Jim. VAR was my teammate. Go VAR. Well, VAR won, so this must be the game. Because I don't think I'm going to find 100 games that VAR beat Caruana. It would be funny if this wasn't the game. No, it's the game. Yeah, I can see. Like, nah, that's one of the 20 times I beat Fabi. What are you doing, Ben? That's what VAR should say to me. It's like, come on. All right. So we'll get to somewhere before the position. All right. Even better. All right. Okay. So here's the game. VAR's white against Jacobian. VAR's white against Fabi in the U.S. Championship. So it's a very important game. And you can see black is up 2 connected passed pawns for no compensation. The engine says black is up 3.76. So you would assume Fabi, being the second or third best player in the world, playing a lower rated player, being completely winning, they just like find the wrap it up button. Got to wrap that gavel up, right? That's what you would think. Thanks, Jay Groges. Okay. And then we'll go on and on and on and on. Okay. And they got to this position. And in this position, black is only a pawn up and the game is a draw. Fabi messed it up. Okay. And this is like 30 moves later. Okay. Fabi messed it up. Now it's a draw. Every move is a draw. Every move the engine says knight f6 is a draw, queen f1 is a draw, knight g5 allowing discover check is a draw, and I'm sure there's more moves that are draw. Instead, Fabi played f6. Never play f6. All right, let's not let the hype train end. Go hype train. Go something. Never play f6. See, Fabi knew queen d7 check would trade queens. What Fabi didn't know was queen a7 check. And then, in a very rare instance of the U.S. Championship, which they have a recording of, after queen a7, right before he hits the clock, you can hear VAR say, "Gotcha, bitch!" Bam! It's very unusual that happens in the U.S. Championship, but it happened here. Yeah, now it's over. Queen a7 check. So obviously, if king g8, we have queen here and knight takes. No, 300 centidues, but not quick enough. Thanks, Pinky Jim. Yeah. Okay, if king h8, we check. King g8, we fork the king and queen. And if the king goes to g7, we check here and yeah, there you go. If king g8, then queen check and knight takes g6 check. So you have to play king h6, knight g4 check, queen h7, threatening queen h6 mate. God damn. Okay, and he resigned. He has to play queen check and king here, but he's just, I mean, the engine announces mate, but you're just down a piece for nothing. You know, queen h4. These moves are forced mate, but that doesn't matter. So VAR was dead, lost. He fought back. He got this drawn position. Fabi played f6, queen a7 check, Papa John's. Yeah. All right. COVID. Man, I haven't had a haircut in like 5 months, I guess. Either February or March was the last time I had a haircut. So VAR wins. Yeah. Now, that was a good win VAR had, but he beat Wesley much easier. I was on the appeals committee for that game. I didn't think Wesley's argument was very appealing. Man, Verusian Edwardovich, god damn. Go VAR. All right. VAR's the best. That's right. F6, never play F6. Terrible. Yeah. All right, thanks for watching the stream. We've streamed for almost 2 hours. You guys gave great donations. Time to go home. And then I'll stream tomorrow and so forth. Now, tomorrow, there's a slight chance I'll have to play in the Title Tuesday. It's not called that anymore. It's called like the Speed Chess Championship. That starts 1 p.m. Eastern. I might play in that. Probably not, but I might. And then I'm definitely streaming 9 to 11 p.m. tomorrow because I'll be on Chess TV. I have 2 Chess TV times, always Tuesday 9 to 11. And starting this Saturday, I'll be on 7 to 9 Saturday. Starting this Saturday, every Saturday. Starting this Saturday. This will be my first one this Saturday. So I'll be on Chess TV tomorrow night. And if I feel like it, I'll play in the Title Tuesday, which I'm never going to feel like it. But you never know. 196 Centidues reviewing different openings. I did review a lot of different openings. Yeah. He tried to send his appeal, and I said, no. That's right. Now, to finish the stream, Wesley, when he appealed the ruling that he lost to VAR, he did not appeal that he lost the game. He wasn't saying, I didn't lose that game, let's play the game. That's not what his appeal was. His appeal was, I agree that I lost the game. However, I don't feel like I should lose the rating points. So I would like you to reverse that, and the game is not rated. But I lose. Now, it's not up to us if the game's rated. FIDE knows what happened. FIDE knows they played 6, 7, 8 moves, and the arbiter forfeited Wesley. So FIDE doesn't care what the appeals committee rules, like that it happened already. So I said, we can't not rate the game. We don't rate it anyway. FIDE does. You could tell FIDE not to rate the game, and they'll rate it anyway. But you can't tell us not to rate the game. We can't make decisions for FIDE. So we ruled against him. Yeah, the rule is if you get forfeited and you've both made moves, that game is rated. Okay? If it wasn't, a lot of people thought cell phone forfeits were not rated. They are rated. So if you're playing in a FIDE-rated tournament, and the rule is if your cell phone goes off, you lose. If you play 2 moves and your cell phone goes off, you lose and you lose rating points because the game started. And that's happened. People get forfeited for various reasons and they lose rating points. So Wesley wanted those rating points back, but he didn't get them. And because of that, Wesley's the lowest rated. No, he's still pretty good. Yeah. Why was Wesley forfeited? No, Tigers are trailing, but they were 2-1. Yeah. No cell phones when you were playing OTB. God damn. All right, 500 viewers. Thanks for watching. Thanks for donating. Thanks for everything. Okay, we should rate David Pac-Man because he rated me once. So that way we get him back. Okay, then I'll learn what his name is too. I can't pronounce his name. I think he's getting a lesson from somebody. I'm not sure who he's getting a lesson from, but somebody. All right, see you guys tomorrow, either at 1 p.m. Eastern or 9 p.m. Eastern or both. And don't forget, it's possible Spencer's teaching a class tomorrow. Only Karen knows, and Karen's not telling. Spencer teaches some classes on Tuesdays. He might be teaching a class tomorrow. Do I know? I know the answer is fries, but he may be. All right, what's Karen saying? From Gotham Chess. There we go. Oh, that's where he's getting his lesson. Yeah. All right. Oh, yeah, class is tomorrow on Sultan Khan. 7 p.m. tomorrow, Spencer's giving a lecture on Sultan Khan. And as Sultan Khan was known to say,